Rethink, outthink, shopper think. When we started to talk about the subject for this session, I don't know, in the fall, where is everybody from Path to Purchase, IQ, ensemble people? At the time, one of the things that I said is that the world of shopper marketing is about to change again and change dramatically. And one of the team said to me at the time, wait a minute, we're just getting it down. We're just getting it right. What do we mean about this? And I said, well, the fact of the matter is the American shopper has changed. She and he have changed so dramatically, even in this last 6 months, even since many of us met a year ago here, that we really need to reconsider, rethink the way we go and do our business today. You know, the truth of the matter is, if you don't think it's changed dramatically, then I would say all you have to do is think about some of the things, right, that happened at retail in the last 3 months, 6 months. What's fascinating to me is I actually walked into a client meeting about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and before my bottom was on the chair, the CMO of the company turned around to me and said, what the heck happened? And I said, about what? And he said, where did the shopper go? What happened to us from fourth quarter into first quarter? He said, have you talked to retailers? And the week later, I was at a retail meeting, and exactly the same thing happened. The head merchant said to me, what the fill in the blank? Where did the shoppers go? And that urgency is what's driving the change that we have to think about today. So that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about this whole new shopper who's out there, what we call her the shopping goddess. And, you know, I'm sure there are a few gods in the room too, but the shopping goddess. I'm going to talk to you about how the new traditional retail landscape has settled in. I'm going to talk to you about the sort of new shopping world of predictable contradictions that we have to be comfortable with. I'm going to tell you, you have to rise above mediocrity. And I know everybody in this room will say, wait a minute, that's not us. Beware. I'm going to talk to you about how happiness is actually what unites both retailers and shoppers. And in the end, that growth means addressing things that are important now. Not the things we bring with us, not the history, not what was last week or the week before or the month before, but in fact, what's happening right now with shoppers. And then we'll talk about whether we need stores, and then we'll talk about the role of digital, and all that will be wrapped up in the conversation. So just to set a context, as I always do, that the lens that we have is if you need to think about the future, if you need to really innovate around the future, the only way to find a solution, in our view, our very biased view, is to follow the shopper and to understand how shoppers live their life, the impact of, you know, economics and social and technological change and political, I promised I wouldn't mention political change, and how that all informs the way the shopper chooses to shop and buy our categories, our products, our brands. That's the lens today. And I'm going to share with you, as I sort of weave the story together, recent work from our latest How America Shops research that we do across the country, nationally talking to shoppers about what's on their mind, how are they thinking, what's important to them today. Before they even vote with their wallets, what are they thinking about that will transform the way we have to do our business? So that's the introduction. Who is this new shopping goddess? Well, I don't know if any of you follow the Buddhist gods, but there is a goddess called Kali, and she is a goddess who is both all-powerful and all-destructive. She's self-centered, she's demanding, she's all-seeing, she is all-knowing. This is who our shopper is today. She's not just a multi-armed goddess of mythic proportions. She is the person who walks into the store, real or virtual, every day. And there, as I said, there are a few gods around, but I'm going to focus today on the goddesses of shopping since they do most of what we do. Here's what you need to know, because this is the whole story. Her shopping life today is transformed, so it's going to transform your life. It's about more places to buy, but actually fewer places for you to sell. It's about faster trips inside the store and more trips outside the store. It's about outsized expectations that she and he have. It's about the fact it's not so simple to define them the way we've traditionally defined them. And in the end, happiness is what grounds and unites them, not the typical demographic or segmentation models. That's what's on our plate today as we think about how we go to market, how do we do our shopper marketing. With that goddess in the house, we have to understand that retail, the new traditional retail landscape, has now settled in. Think about what that looks like today. You know, forget MULO. It's not just about food, drug, mass, club, dollar. She's in smaller places and local places and discount places and digital spaces. She's in lots of places that most of us don't even look at anymore and track anymore for many of the categories that we sell. If you think you've lost a trip or a dollar or a basket or something, it's probably because she's somewhere totally outside the portfolio of channels that you look at every day. The interesting thing is she has many more places to shop, and yet she is choosing fewer. For the first time since 2010, we have seen a decline in the number of channels women tell us they shop on an average 3-month period. Now, it's a benchmark measure we've been tracking for way before half of you were born. And so if you go back to the recession days, women said they were shopping in 8.6 different channels: drug versus mass, supermarket versus club versus dollar, fill in the blanks. That peaked in 2014 at 9.7, and in 2016, it dropped by half a channel. This was before we saw the shifts over the holidays. So if you had asked us early last year what was beginning to shake out, we would have told you, in fact, that she is starting to pull back because she's shopping differently. She's in different places, choosing different ways to shop. We've seen dramatically, and you've had this conversation through the day, that digital now means faster trips inside the store and less time to browse, which means if you're developing a shopper marketing platform, she may be in there for a nanosecond or half a nanosecond for lots of different reasons. 1 in 3 are now telling us they do some kind of pre-shopping before they actually go to the store. That increases to nearly 1 in 2 millennials and just over 1 in 2 Hispanics. And by pre-shopping, I mean old world, new world. It could be looking at a commercial, it could be reading an ad in a magazine, it could be cutting out a coupon, it could be getting a flyer in the mail, or it could be all digital. Everything done digitally. Checking out ingredients online, looking at reviews online, but 1 in 3 are now making those decisions before they get to the store, before they get to the shelf, which means the trip inside the store is much, much faster than it ever was. And of course, more trips move outside the store, and you know that already, whether it's the growth of click and collect or whether it's the continuing growth of online, the Amazon proposition, the .com proposition. In some new research that we haven't published yet, it comes out towards the end of April, we've just seen that now 1 in 3 women tell us they have bought online and picked up in store in the last 3 months. 1 in 3 now have adopted that so quickly when you consider it's not everywhere. There aren't that many places you can do this, and yet 1 in 3 have done that. We also see that, you know, all the delivery kind of things, all the subscription kinds of services, from health to dinner to what to wear. I mean, Uber now is testing a concept called Uber for Health. So you can actually have Uber come and give you a flu shot, well, not the Uber guy, but deliver you a nurse practitioner to come to your home to give you a flu shot. Talk about playing off the infrastructure. As easily as you can get Blue Apron to come and deliver dinner or Stitch Fix to come and deliver clothes. Who in this audience has ordered from Blue Apron? Okay. Who's ordered from Stitch Fix? There you go. You know the answer to this story, right? 1 in 4 women, again in this new data soon to be published, tell us they already have purchased through a subscription service in the last 90 days. And look at you. And you are no different to many across America. In all this, that notion of the time spent in the store, the time she can look at what we're trying to deliver, the time she can connect at the aisle, at the checkout, has all changed. Either she's not there or she's got all her information before she gets there. And it's not just tying into the digital proposition now, it's, do I even understand what the trip model looks like? How do I rethink that? Number 3 is we now live in this world of predictable contradictions. All the good news, right? She feels more financially secure today. 7 out of 10 women now tell us that they feel positive about their finances. We ask a question, are you feeling secure, are you feeling optimistic, are you feeling pessimistic about your future? And you can see between 2016 and 2014, that's all improved, up 7 points. That's the great news, right? So what's going on here, right? What is going on? Why is growth in traditional retail slower? Well, it's slower because we're not always selling what she wants, and we're not always selling it where she wants to get it. For those of you who were here last year when I spoke, I talked about this concept of buying happiness. And that just keeps growing. This totally new mindset that shoppers have when they think about what's important to them today. It's about financial stability. It's about not finding myself back in that problem that I got into in 2008 or 2010. It's about stress. It's about taking stress out of my life. It's about this greater sense of well-being. It's no longer about stuff. And so if we're in the stuff business, we have to build that proposition around this value that she's looking for her in her life. What's interesting about all of this is we see it so clearly in her spending priorities. When we ask shoppers where are they choosing to spend their money, we see the 2 top things are about paying off my debt and making sure I'm saving. Then it's things like vacations and hobbies and getting stuff shipped to my house, and then all the things that we sell, right? They're there on the list, but they're 20 and 30 points below. It's not that she doesn't want to feed her kids dinner. It's not that she doesn't want to have a great lipstick or a great hair color. It's just, this is the new competitive set we have now. Is it worth her money? Should she just put it in the bank, or are we delivering something that's a much greater value to her? There are some things that she will spend more on, and we have to be really smart about how we dig into those, because it isn't everything, and it's not everything we're selling. One of the areas where there's tremendous opportunity is in this area of stress. You know, she's looking for less stress and more solutions, and that's where there's an opportunity for us to deliver. 1 in 2 tell us that stress is their #1 obstacle to good health. That goes up 7 points for millennials. Millennials, raise your hand. Probably could go 10 points for boomers. Thank you very much. I'm feeling even more stressed. But as a result of this, they're looking for solutions, and they're taking care of some of that themselves, and they're willing to pay more. Whether it's a Peloton bike, which you have to be willing to pay a lot more to do your spinning classes in the comfort of your home or the ease of your home, or it's just, hello, Alexa, hello, butter please, detergent please, music please. The fastest selling item at Amazon last year was Echo and Echo Dot. Who's got an Echo? Who's got an Echo? Thank you. Hello. And it's not just because we're practicing to be retailers. It's because we want to make our lives easier. So all of those kinds of things that people are actually willing to pay more for. They're willing to pay more for healthier, whether it's for themselves or for their pets. They're willing to pay more to discover things. This is a new Bed Bath & Beyond in Brooklyn, where actually they've got customized, localized product. Bed Bath & Beyond. Localized Brooklyn products and ways that you can actually go out and try and test the stroller for the kids. All of these kinds of things that they're now beginning to offer, because these are the kinds of things that people will pay more for. Different value system, different value proposition. But the other thing we have to recognize is this whole world that we now live in, that in spite of the fact that we think we perform on an extraordinarily excellent, amazing level, excuse my grammar, is that many shoppers actually think we're pretty mediocre. Just before the election, all that anger that angst that was building up across the country, we said to ourselves, is that going to be reflected in the way people go to buy things and how they feel about brands and all of that? And in fact, so we said, let's go and do some work around that. And we did one of our How America Shops studies, and we actually found that it wasn't that people were just angry, they felt there were no good choices. Everything was mediocre. And it wasn't just about, I said I wouldn't mention it, it wasn't just about elections or politicians or Washington. It was about a lot of things. And in fact, a lot of things included us. And we saw it in all our data. You know, this notion about 2 or 3 brands are good enough. And that's not that we're terrible. It's just, there are decent choices, 2 or 3. Depends what's on deal. We saw things like fewer than half said they were loyal to a brand in one category, in a CPG category. Fewer than half. And the number one reason people would switch brands in store was all about price. So this notion of mediocrity, of like, good enough, wasn't just about our politicians. It's about us too, and the level of trust people have in us. They are, in fact, disillusioned about us. You know, I have to put up with you because you're there, and you're pretty good, you're not bad, but actually, you're not great. And when I start to think about where I spend my money, or how you can influence me, that's all changing. It's not just about touting benefits and ingredients. You know, you can see it here, right? 61% say, I get the benefits. Half say, I clearly understand the ingredients. But that doesn't make it different. That's what's changed in the shopper's mindset. You don't need to read this chart. Basically, this is the example by category, find your category, that says fewer than half see differentiation in these categories. Fewer than half. This is what we're supposed to be really, really good at, right? That notion of iterative innovation that many of us have done, another flavor, another size, another cap, another label, and then increase the price. She's got it. She understands that. She knows it. I told you, she's all seeing, she's all knowing. And that doesn't play out for her anymore. That just doesn't work, which is why what we call these ankle biter brands are the ones that are really growing and growing fast, whether it's in the beer or the beverage area, whether it's in the snack area, whether it's in the beauty area or it's in the health area. Brands nibbling away a chair, a point here, a point there, stealing room on the shelf, nibbling away up to our knees, because shoppers are looking for things that are really different. They're also looking for happiness. And in that context of what unites us, what makes us different, in the world of not just stuff, this is really important. This notion about easier, kinder shopping, which sounds so emotive, right, is in fact what's really important to shoppers today. The smiley Amazon face, or the guy at Trader Joe's, right? I must remember to wear my hat like that when I go to Trader Joe's. All right, where is that dog balloon? She's telling us she is shopping where she feels good. So we ask a general question that says, of all the places you shop, you have to have bought there, tell us where you feel good. Amazon is number 1. But it's not all about Amazon. Publix is number 2. Victoria's Secret is number 3. Costco it's old world and new world retail. It's things, if you look at this, there's Whole Foods and Nordstrom and Aldi all together. Does that make sense? And then all the major retailers we live with, right? Mediocre. All in the middle. Do I feel good shopping them? No, it's all right. They're okay. And we ask then, what is it that makes you feel good? And these are just some of the attributes. It's the basics. You know, yes, it's convenient to get to, and yes, it's got to have good prices, but actually, it's also about using my time well. And it's also about staying within my budget, just the basics. But the other side is about things that actually they sell things that make us happy. I feel like a smart shopper. I feel healthier. They actually really care for me. So a whole different way of thinking about what feel good means today and what shoppers expect from that. So in the end, as we think about the way we take our insights and turn them into shopper marketing programs, we have to understand what's important to her now. And I will tell you in closing, there's some really basic things. We need to shift our lens because she is telling us we need to rethink. She's turned it all upside down, and she is not standing on her head. We need to stand on ours because she has changed dramatically in the last 6 months and really in the last 12 months, and we need to understand that. Think about just some of the things that are examples of that. She is now her own channel. If you have a channel strategy and it's geared around, they're small formats and they sell pharmacy primarily, or they're a big format and they sell multiple categories and they've called W or T on the door, that's not relevant to her anymore. She creates her own channel as she needs it. She is shopping at more places you don't sell. And she's refining that and customizing that and curating that. And so the question we have to ask is, are you in all the places she wants to be, or in fact, all the places she is today? If you're selling beauty products, you want to think about TJ Maxx. Anybody in this room who's bought their hair care at TJ Maxx? I'm stunned. You guys are amazing. Thank you, the perfect audience. I mean, who would have ever thought about that? She has created her own channel. Not only that, she curates her path to purchase every day. Think about yourselves. It's not the stock-up trip or the fill-in trip or the quick trip anymore. It's about where am I today and what things will I do today. She's always shopping. She's always thinking about it. She's always trying to figure out what can I get off the list today? Where do I want to spend my time today? Where don't I want to spend my time today? So the question we have to ask ourselves is are our shopper programs meeting her changing daily needs? Because if she comes in the door with one thing in mind and your shopper marketing strategy is all about another thing, you're going to lose her today. It's not that organized. It's not that linear. She is organized. We are linear. She also curates her own EDLP. She doesn't need us to give her a deal. Hello, here's a deal. She knows where to get that before she walks in the door. We saw that in the data. So offering her another deal today is not going to get her to come and buy more. We now need to think about how can we move beyond price to value. And that nuance of stress is one proposition, but there are others within the landscape and her mindset that you can begin to see where she will spend more money, where she's willing to spend her time, her own channel, curating her path to purchase every day. EDLP is hers, it's not yours. And that's the changing nature of it. And the fact of the matter is, it's not about Amazon. Oh, well, yes, it is. But it's not really. That's her default position. That's when we don't do a really good job of engaging her in a physical capability, in a physical place. If we don't understand that today she's on I am, mother with 2 kids screaming today, what does that strategy look like versus tomorrow I'm actually there with a girlfriend, then of course she goes here because we are not delivering to her. The store does not go away. We just need to do a much, much better job of understanding who she is as she walks into that store, because this is her channel, right? Some days she's in Trader Joe's and Costco and Amazon Prime. Other days she's buying a hair care in TJ Maxx and ordering dinner from Blue Apron, and she's getting her prescription delivered to her from capsule.com. Which of those channels do we do business in? This is part of the way she thinks today. So what will she pay for? How do we outthink the work we do? We have to understand the way she thinks. Is it time well spent? Is it a trip about quick and save it? Or is it about a trip about slow and savor it? Is it the fabulous cheese counter at Wegmans or Fairway? And is she spending time tasting and immersing herself in all the different cheeses? Or is she saying, I want a prepackaged, I'm on the way, I'm going now? Save it or savor it. Do we know that about her, or do we think she's the one person, the same person all the time? How do we make it less stressful for her? Sometimes she wants it simple, and sometimes she wants it satisfying. And we need to know that. Otherwise, she's off in a whole other place, and we have lost her on that trip. We need to help her feel better. And sometimes it's about expressing herself, and sometimes it's about being a smart shopper. That's pretty powerful. And sometimes it's just about help me feel creative. All of these are the ways she begins to think about what she's willing to pay more for, what she's willing to spend on that we all sell. And that's the different mindset. And in the end, we know retail is in a state of turmoil. We absolutely do. But guess what? The shopper is not. She is now clear. She is grounded. She has her choices. She customizes her channels. She knows where to get the best price every day. And she is very specific about what she expects from all of us when we take our insights and deliver them into marketing programs. In the end, she's very clear. What shoppers have said to us, and this is literally a shopper quote, "I love you when you're being what I want you to be. I hate you when you're being what you want to be." And the difference today and tomorrow is that she now has the power to insist. And if we doubt that, all you have to do is open the newspapers, go online, read the news about what's going on at retail, and ask yourself the question, where did the shopper go? She hasn't gone anywhere. She's just not necessarily where we are and where we're delivering our shopper marketing strategies and how we think about what we deliver in shopper marketing approaches today. She has the power to insist. Thank you. Now, I don't know about if that gave you a migraine headache, but it about gave me one. So it was those of you in the front going, what happened to that screen? I don't know if we have a minute or two for questions, if anybody wants them, or you're all desperate to get to the bar. I know Kurt's buying me a drink. I think he might shout for all of us if we're really lucky. Yes?
So based on your comment before about how she's changing where she's shopping every day almost, and knowing our challenges as shopper marketers and what it takes to get a shopper marketing program in the store, right? Months of planning, maybe years,
Right.
depending on what the campaign is. How do you advise that we become so nimble to turn where she turns and when she turns and anticipate where she's turning, on a dime?
Yeah.
We can't move like that.
Yeah. So the question is, as large companies working with large retailers often, how do we become so nimble to make sure we follow her and we're adapting to her speed of change? Well, I'll say two things. One is, this change is not something that is new. This change has been coming. So I would say to all of you, the first thing you really need to think about is look beyond the obvious data and insights you're looking at, because this is not something where she is literally changing her mindset every day. You all in this room raised your hand, many of you, and said you use Stitch Fix, use Blue Apron, obviously many of you use Prime. I mean, these are fundamental shifts that have been going on. So I don't want you to think this is is the word peripatetic? This is a lunatic shopper person who's running around changing her mind every 3 minutes. But to the question of, okay, to the point of she is now thinking about who am I today and what do I need to do today, that program that you begin to talk to a retailer about, which says, here I am, whether I'm a big box or a small box, and I'm saying, understand who this woman is. And she's got 3 or 4 personas. And actually, we need to understand or make sure that in all our shopper strategy that we're developing and shopper marketing programs that we're developing, we understand all of those different personalities she is, and that we are now delivering not just a static program that says she's looking for dinner tonight, but actually sometimes she's looking for dinner and sometimes she's embracing the cheese counter. You can see I've obviously got cheese on my mind at the moment. And how do we not just have one thing at one end cap or one checkout, but actually what is our portfolio of things that says, depending who she is today, we are offering a whole portfolio of shopper marketing strategies. And I think if there's one big message in all of this, is that we tend to think, because many of us are in big companies with big retail partners, that we have to have this sort of very linear, very defined, it's a one thing, and we're going to roll it out to 8,000, 12,000 billion squillion stores. And actually what she's saying to us, and if those of you who were here last year, I made the comment on some work we did we called Build My Magic Box. And the quote from a shop was, I feel like Alice in Wonderland. Sometimes I need a very big door, and sometimes I need a little door with a tiny little key. Sometimes I'm a mum, sometimes I'm an executive, sometimes I'm out with the girlfriends. We need to know that now, because when it was clear that she was just coming to the store as mum, it was very easy for us to say, she's coming to this store, she's doing a stock-up trip, we know who she is. That's not, she's doing her stock-up trip now in multiple places, and we don't even know what part of that cycle she is in. So as we build a shopper marketing strategy, we need to say, let us consider all those iterations, and let us make sure that any way she comes to us this time for this product, for this approach, we have created a series of things that can be delivered throughout the operation, the store. That's where we need that flexibility. Okay? Kurt, you ready to buy? No. Oh, I knew that. See, I lost my big clothes. I knew it. You see, big clothes. See, right, this? So the reason I wore this today, sort of, was to actually say this, not that everybody should jump in, but sometimes she's this, right? And sometimes she's this, right? So that notion of how do you know who I am today, right? This is the easy way to tell, right? She's wearing this, not that. We have come to try and simplify our lives in such a way as shopper insights people and shopper marketing people and retail people and brand people. When, if you think about all of yourselves as shoppers, you have become much more complicated. And that's the difference. We're trying to simplify when she's become so diverse. And that's where it all changes. And that's where the nuance matters. And that's where wearing a very big dress or wearing a little dress makes a difference. Anyway, enough of that. So Kurt, am I done? I don't know. And I'm done, enough. Thank you.